documents out. They sent you a document, sent all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
He phoned me and he said, we're talking on the phone. He says, I think we got a direct hit. And I go, what? And it was this woman's name. Because I said, because if you look on this photograph that was leaked on Mellon's site, it has this, I can't remember the name, it was a D, just had the first initial. So I said, can you see if your Pentagon guy, whether they can get this? And this morning I'm talking to him, he said, I think we got a direct hit. And he said this person would be in there. So it goes one step farther that this is where the videos were coming. This is sort of
I see. This is how the videos were cleared for release.
That it was coming from public affairs, but it still doesn't say who was the actual person who greenlighted it. It just puts this other woman in the chain of command that she gives them to Elizondo, who mails them to Mellon, and then Mellon puts these things on his web. They suddenly get out into the open, and they say, "Oh, somebody hacked the website. We didn't intend." And they,
like, in other words,
it's plausible deniability.
And it's also not technically illegal. They were able to get this and say,
yeah,
nothing to do about this, so we're not going to fight it.
One thing you brought up was interesting because I've been following these Avery guys for many decades. When it came out, I knew as soon as I saw Eric Davis's thing and the thing about me, knew that this was Edgar Mitchell, and that all these guys were in NIDS. They were all in the Bigelow thing.
Yes,
Bigelow was paying them lots of money. So when I saw that, I remember early when just after
people are wondering why Bigelow would preside over that, or
why he'd be doing this film. So all the stuff so they did the alien autopsy, they did Skinwalker Ranch. So they're looking at all these things. Bigelow, just like a fella, and he brings in these guys. And if you're paying them $1,000, $3,000 a day, they got to produce something. The top guys, all these Avery guys who have been rumored to be around here on the whole film.
Heck of an education on this. Because Grant's just racing ahead.
Yeah, no, but it's
fascinating.
So it's just another subject that we're doing. It was the Hallman first-based film, which is rumored to be a film where the aliens land and there's 4 cameras filming it.
1964, yeah.
Well, 71. There's
Emmett
uses 71.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
Doty uses 64. So you put these 2 different dates out, the same thing, to cause confusion.
Well, I think there was a 64 landing, personally.
Yeah, but Edgar told me it was 70. He had all these details. 6 o'clock in the morning, 4 cameras. He had all this stuff. He knew exactly which hangars there was. They gave a lot of details. So I sort of used, it doesn't really matter what the date was, but anyway, so they came to me and
I think it does.
And Hal contacted me. What did you talk about? And they wanted to know all the details I knew because
they were interested in your take on the Holloman Air Force landing.
NIDS was working on the Holloman Air, and they were trying to contact presidents. They were trying to contact, just because it was always rumored to be a part of the briefing for the President of the United States. So they were checking that. So they came to me. You worked on the Holloman. What did you find in this sort of stuff? Tracking that back. And they actually had Paul Shartle, who was the security manager, who actually, with Bob Emenegger and Sandler, was the guy who said to them, we'd like you to do this documentary. And he's the guy that went on UFO Cover-Up Live in 1988 and said, I saw the film, this is what was on the film. Everybody else claimed they didn't see the film. But he went, and they were actually bringing to Las Vegas to interview him.
Yes.
NIDS was doing it. And he had a rollover car accident 2 weeks before this event.
Paul Shartle?
Paul Shartle. And so I knew they were working on this. And the other thing I knew was indicated to me that the Hall-based film classified. To look at it, I think maybe all the films are not classified. It's the idea that if you move it into private industry, or if you don't classify it, because if you classify it, then you got a 25-year rule that you have to declassify.
This massive, because to find them, you'd have to know exactly where to look.
Yeah. So when TTSA said they weren't classified, I'm thinking back, oh, that's what I heard about the Holman film too, and I'm thinking
that's
maybe
a really
this is
interesting
part
point.
of the
Low and Putoff and Green and David Mitchell. These are people who have spent their lives trying to get to the center of that maze.
Yeah.
They want to get to the Holy Grail. They want to know about every. They've all got different. All have a piece, and you have to assume that they share the
because they're
exactly.
Yeah.
So they know a lot, but they want more because they've got the bug. They need to get this. So I think that's what's been going all along. And when I see them, basically, this is the old Aviator group. Now it's rebooted. It's
wherever there's money, that's what I found. So they go from Bill Moore to John Alexander to